Have you ever wondered what truly sets the wise apart from the foolish? It's not just about knowledge or book smarts. It's about how we think, how we act, and most importantly, how we learn from our experiences. After years of observing human behavior, I've realized something powerful. There are clear, unmistakable signs that someone is stuck in a cycle of poor judgment, and in this video, I'm going to reveal the 6 key indicators that show when someone is lacking in true wisdom. Now, don't mistake this for a mere critique of others. This is about you, me, and all of us striving for better. Recognizing these signs isn't about pointing fingers. It's about raising our own awareness and understanding where we might be making similar mistakes. So, buckle up and join me as we dig into these 6 telltale signs that show a person is missing the mark in ways that could be holding them back. Let's uncover these lessons together and grow wiser in the process. Are you ready to open your mind and see the truth? Let's dive in. The first sign: a closed mind. A closed mind is like a wall built from fear, pride, and a stubborn refusal to change. It's a self-imposed prison that prevents growth and shuts out new opportunities. People with closed minds cling to their old beliefs like a safety blanket, but in doing so, they unknowingly lock themselves in a cage of stagnation. They avoid new ideas not because they've truly examined them, but because they're terrified of anything that challenges their sense of comfort. And here's the kicker: their so-called confidence is often just a mask hiding insecurity. Real confidence comes from knowing there's always more to learn. Take, for example, Mark, a department manager I once worked with. Mark was so stuck in his ways that when someone suggested using new project management software to improve workflow, he completely shut it down. "We've been doing fine for 10 years, he said, ignoring clear signs that his team was falling behind. While other departments adapted and thrived, Mark's team struggled to keep up. Instead of reflecting on his own resistance, Mark blamed everyone and everything except his outdated approach. This is the danger of a closed mind. It doesn't just hinder personal growth, it stifles the entire team. On the other hand, wise individuals understand that wisdom is born from flexibility, not rigidity. Stoicism teaches us that true wisdom lies in the ability to learn, evolve, and accept that we don't have all the answers. If you spot this tendency in yourself or others, clinging to outdated methods or ideas, remember that growth thrives when we open our minds. The moment you admit, "I don't know everything, but I'm open to learning," you've unlocked the door to progress. The path to wisdom is wide open for those brave enough to leave their walls behind. The second sign: constant blaming. Blaming others is a classic trait of those who avoid personal accountability. When things go wrong, foolish people are quick to point fingers. A failed project, the market was too unpredictable, a missed promotion, the boss was unfair or biased. It's never their fault. But in reality, this constant blaming is a way to shield themselves from the uncomfortable truth. That shield may protect their ego in the short term, but it also locks them in a cage of stagnation, preventing them from growing or improving. Let's take Lisa, an event organizer I once worked with. Lisa was in charge of planning a major conference, and when the event failed due to low attendance, she wasted no time blaming the marketing team for not doing their job. But after digging deeper into the situation, we uncovered a different story. Lisa had failed to send the necessary event details to the marketing team on time, causing the delay in promotions. Yet, even when confronted with the facts, Lisa continued to deflect blame. She refused to take responsibility for her own mistake. As a result, her credibility took a hit, her team lost trust in her, and Lisa was eventually forced to step down from her position. This is the danger of constantly blaming others. It prevents growth, damages relationships, and holds you back from becoming a better version of yourself. True growth only comes when we face our mistakes and take full responsibility for our actions. It's not about being perfect, but about learning from our failures. Wise people understand that mistakes are part of the journey, and the ability to admit them opens the door to improvement and growth. Stoic philosophy reminds us that mastering life begins with mastering responsibility. Only when we stop pointing fingers and start looking inward can we truly evolve. If you find yourself constantly blaming others, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what role did I play in this? What could I have done differently? Blaming others only delays the inevitable truth. Accepting responsibility, on the other hand, is empowering. It forces you to grow and learn from your experiences. Wise individuals don't fear mistakes. They embrace them, learn from them, and use them as stepping stones to move forward. You have the power to do the same. Choose the path of accountability, face the truth, and watch yourself transform into a stronger, wiser version of who you are meant to be. The third sign, arrogance over humility. We've all encountered someone who feels the need to constantly prove they're the smartest person in the room. Whether it's interrupting others, talking over them, or dismissing ideas, this is the unmistakable sign of arrogance. Arrogance isn't just a show of confidence, it's often a defense mechanism for deeper insecurities. And more than anything, arrogance is the greatest obstacle to growth and true wisdom. The truly wise know that learning isn't a race to the top, it's a lifelong journey. They understand that listening is just as important as speaking, if not more so. Take Michael, a manager at a large corporation, as an example. In every meeting, he would take over the conversation, dismissing his team's ideas as unworthy. He was always eager to present his own brilliant thoughts, rarely listening to what anyone else had to say. When a major project failed, Michael blamed his team for not understanding his vision. But the real issue was his arrogance. By refusing to listen to anyone's input or reflect on his own shortcomings, he led the project into failure. Even when his boss asked him to reflect, Michael couldn't offer a single genuine reason for the failure because his arrogance had completely blinded him to the truth. Humility, however, is the key to growth and learning. It's not about belittling yourself or thinking less of your own worth. It's about thinking of yourself less and focusing on others' ideas and perspectives. True humility allows you to admit when you're wrong and to learn from those mistakes. Stoic philosophy teaches us that wisdom is born from the ability to see things clearly, which includes being open to new ideas, challenging our own assumptions, and saying, "I don't know everything." If you ever catch yourself falling into the trap of arrogance, take a moment to pause and ask, am I more focused on proving I'm right, or am I genuinely open to learning from others? Wisdom doesn't thrive on making others feel small. It flourishes when we lift others up, share ideas, and grow together. The most intelligent people are the ones who know that there is always room to learn. So choose humility and let it guide you. The real measure of wisdom is not how much you know, but how open you are to knowing more. And you, yes you, have the power to be that wise person. The fourth sign, lack of empathy. One of the clearest signs of ignorance is a lack of empathy. It's an inability to step outside oneself, to understand or even care about the emotions and experiences of others. Without empathy, people become disconnected from the very essence of what makes relationships meaningful. They might unintentionally hurt those around them, completely unaware of the emotional impact they have. The absence of empathy doesn't just harm relationships. It deeply diminishes the richness of one's character and prevents growth on both personal and social levels. Consider a colleague named Paul, for example. Paul had a tendency to complain about project delays, but never bothered to understand the reasons behind them. One time, a co-worker named Susan missed a deadline because her son was seriously ill. Instead of offering understanding, Paul publicly criticized her in front of the entire team, showing no compassion for what she was going through. He only cared about the results he expected. But when Paul himself found his own life turned upside down, caring for his ailing mother a year later, he finally understood how hurtful his previous criticisms had been. It was a hard lesson learned, but it was one that could have been avoided had he approached the situation with empathy in the first place. Lack of empathy doesn't just make someone appear indifferent or cold, it traps them in isolation. Without the ability to connect deeply with others, they miss out on profound learning opportunities and the wisdom that comes from shared human experience. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true wisdom is not about having all the answers, but about understanding and connecting with the people around us. Those who lack empathy not only hinder their own personal growth, but also alienate themselves, leaving a legacy of insensitivity. Empathy is not a weakness. It's a powerful force that connects us to the hearts and minds of others. When you take the time to listen with understanding, to step into someone else's shoes, you not only help them feel seen and heard, but you also learn valuable lessons that shape you into a wiser person. An empathetic heart opens doors to deeper connections and greater wisdom. So, if you notice yourself lacking empathy, take a moment to pause, listen, and reflect. Compassion is the first step toward building a more meaningful and enlightened life, both for you and for those around you. The fifth sign, the fear of change. While the comfort zone feels safe and familiar, it's also a trap. Those who fear change often cling to old habits and routines, even when they no longer serve them. It's like being a child afraid of the dark, too hesitant to venture outside the comfort of what they know. But life, my friends, is like a river. It constantly flows, shifts, and evolves. The wise learn to ride the current, while the fearful try to hold on to the water, only to watch it slip through their fingers. Take Michael, for example. He spent his entire life in a small, tight-knit neighborhood. He knew every street, every person, and felt secure in his little world. When his children, now adults, encouraged him to move to a new area for better opportunities and a fresh start, Michael refused. "I've lived here my whole life. Why would I leave?" he would say. But as time passed, the neighborhood began to change. Old friends moved away, local businesses closed, and the area felt less like home. Michael soon realized that even though he resisted change, life around him was continuing to evolve. Eventually, he decided to move closer to his children. It wasn't just about being near family. He discovered that the new environment brought a sense of renewal, new friendships, and opportunities he had never imagined before. The fear of change keeps us tethered to the past, holding us back from exploring what could be. Stoic philosophy teaches us that change is not only inevitable, but necessary. It's through embracing change that we find growth and new potential. If you catch yourself resisting change, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And what's the best that could happen? Change isn't the enemy. It's the gateway to new experiences, challenges, and growth. If you don't learn to adapt and flow with life's inevitable changes, you risk being left behind in fear. Remember, growth happens when we step out of the familiar and embrace the unknown. So, take that first step. Change is a chance for progress, not a threat to our stability. The sixth sign, talking more than listening. We've all encountered someone who thinks they know everything, haven't we? They dominate every conversation, interrupt others mid-sentence, and rarely take the time to truly listen. This constant talking without listening is a glaring sign of foolishness. It's a behavior rooted in arrogance and insecurity, often disregarding others' perspectives. Not only does this create tension in relationships, but it also erodes trust, especially in family dynamics where listening is vital. Let me share a story about John, a father I once knew. Every evening at dinner, John would take over the conversation. His kids would try to share stories about their day at school, but John, eager to tell his own tales, would interrupt them. When his wife suggested changes to improve the family's finances, John immediately dismissed her ideas, insisting his way was the only way. What John didn't realize was how his constant talking made his family feel unheard, unimportant, and disrespected. His lack of listening caused a growing rift in their relationships, and over time, they began to feel emotionally disconnected from him. Listening, however, is not a passive act. It's an active skill that requires genuine attention and respect for others' thoughts and emotions. Stoic philosophy teaches that wisdom comes from reflection and understanding, which are only possible when we listen deeply. When we speak without listening, it's like planting seeds in barren soil. There's no room for growth. But when we listen, we open ourselves to learning, understanding, and creating stronger bonds. If you see yourself in John's behavior, don't wait for another moment to pass. Next time your child talks about their day or your spouse shares their thoughts, try to listen actively. Don't just wait for your turn to talk. Make a conscious effort to understand their perspective. By doing this, you'll not only improve your relationships, but also foster an environment of mutual respect, love, and understanding. So we've explored the 6 signs of a foolish person, but before you start questioning, am I foolish? Take a deep breath. The truth is, we all have moments when we exhibit one or more of these traits. We've all been arrogant, held on too tightly to our comfort zones, or perhaps talked too much without listening. Here's the crucial takeaway. Recognizing these signs is not about self-criticism, but self-improvement. Stoic philosophy teaches us that wisdom doesn't come from always being right, but from acknowledging our flaws, learning from them, and striving to be better. Each of these foolish traits is an opportunity to grow. So, if you've seen yourself in any of these signs, take it as an invitation to evolve. Step out of your comfort zone, listen more attentively, stop blaming, and welcome change. This journey to wisdom isn't about perfection. It's about progress, courage, and the willingness to do better. Remember, foolishness may be temporary, but wisdom is a lifelong journey. And on this journey, you're never alone. Keep growing, keep learning, and if you found value in this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue exploring these meaningful lessons together. Thank you for watching.